Welcome to another deep dive, and this time, we're getting into some really creepy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're going behind the scenes of horror movies, the ones based on true stories.
Those are always the best kind.
Right. You guys sent in a list of 20 films you were curious about, and
Wow.
let me tell you, researching the backstories,
Yeah.
it's way creepier than just watching the movies.
Sometimes the truth is scarier than fiction, you know? What really gets me is how these films play on our deepest fears.
It's true.
Like, fictional monsters, okay, that's one thing.
Sure.
But knowing something actually happened,
Right.
that adds a whole other level of chills.
Oh, for sure. It makes you look over your shoulder, you know.
Exactly.
So we're starting with a story that centers around a doll,
A doll. Okay.
but not just any doll.
All right, I'm intrigued.
This is Robert the doll.
Robert the doll.
He's the real-life inspiration for Chucky.
Oh, from Child's Play.
Yep.
I remember that one.
So apparently this is not some cute plaything, this Robert doll.
Oh, really?
Allegedly, he carries a voodoo curse,
Oh, no.
and he lives in a museum now.
A museum?
Yeah, but get this visitor's report having really bad luck
What?
after disrespecting him.
So people are still afraid of this doll, even in a museum?
It seems like it. There are all these stories about him, like him moving, changing expressions,
Oh.
causing mischief. People say they've had accidents, gotten sick,
Oh, my gosh.
even experienced, like, real tragedy after being near him.
I mean, it makes you wonder, right? Like, how much of this is just the power of suggestion?
Interesting.
If you believe something's cursed, you're more likely to blame it when things go wrong.
That's true.
It's like our brains are wired to find patterns, even if they're not really there.
That's a little spooky for me. Let's move on from creepy dolls to a terrifying creature.
Oh, okay. What kind of creature?
The giant crocodile from the movie Primeval.
Primeval.
Yeah, the one from 2007. That was based on a real croc.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, his name was Gustav,
Gustav.
a Nile crocodile in Burundi. And he terrorized locals for years.
How big are we talking?
Big. Some estimates put him at over 20 feet long.
20 feet?
Yeah, and weighing over a ton.
A ton. That's like a car.
I know, right? No wonder he was the stuff of nightmares.
And to think he evaded capture all those years?
It's crazy.
There are so many stories about Gustav, so many reported attacks.
He's like this legendary monster, a real-life one.
And it connects to this fear we all have.
What's that?
The fear of being hunted by something bigger, stronger than us.
Something we can't control.
Exactly.
It's like that primal fear of nature's power, you know?
Totally.
Like we think about how crocodiles have been depicted throughout history,
Oh, yeah.
in mythology, folklore. They're
Right.
these ancient, powerful symbols
Yeah.
of the untamed wilderness, the danger lurking out there.
Reminding us we're not always on top of the food chain.
It's true.
It's a humbling thought.
Speaking of primal fears, did you ever hear of the dream death phenomenon?
Dream death? I don't think so.
It's actually part of what inspired Wes Craven
Oh, interesting.
to create Freddy Krueger.
From A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Wow.
So this was back in the 1980s.
Okay.
There were these reports of Southeast Asian refugees.
Refugees.
Yeah, a lot of them from Cambodia. They were having these nightmares,
Nightmares.
but they were so intense that they actually died in their sleep.
Oh, that's awful.
I know, it's horrifying.
Just imagine your dreams becoming so real,
I can't.
so terrifying that they could actually kill you.
No wonder people were so scared of Freddy Krueger.
Invading their dreams.
It's like a violation on another level, right? Like
Ugh.
losing control.
Losing that safe space.
Even your dreams become a battleground.
Exactly.
Now, this next one is really disturbing.
Right.
It's a true story behind The Girl Next Door.
Oh, yeah, that one's tough to watch.
It's not for the faint of heart.
What's it about?
It's based on the murder of Silvia Likens,
Silvia Likens.
a teenager who was held captive
Oh, no.
and tortured by her caregiver.
This was real.
This really happened back in 1965.
I remember reading about it, just horrific.
The level of cruelty is unimaginable.
And the film doesn't shy away from that, does it?
They say it's a pretty accurate portrayal of what happened.
Which makes it even more disturbing.
It really shows how the monsters in our lives,
Aren't always hiding in the shadows.
they could be right next door.
Like, hidden behind this facade of normalcy.
It's terrifying.
It's the betrayal of trust that gets me.
It's like our homes, our families are supposed to be safe.
But this case shows that's not always true.
It's a reminder of the darkness that exists, you know?
In humanity, in all of us.
It's a chilling thought.
But it's something horror often forces us to confront.
It does.
Okay, so creepy dolls, giant crocs, nightmares that can kill you.
What's next?
Well, let's switch gears a bit
Okay.
to a film that deals with premonitions and unexplained phenomena.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
the Mothman prophecies.
Okay, I've heard of this, but don't know much about it.
Right, so this film takes its inspiration from some strange events.
Oh.
They happen in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
West Virginia, all right.
This is back in the 1960s.
Got it.
There are all these sightings of this large winged creature.
The Mothman.
Yeah.
And it all seemed to lead up to this tragic event.
The collapse of the Silver Bridge.
That's right, I remember hearing about that.
So when something like that happens, something so sudden, so devastating.
It makes sense that people would search for answers.
For meaning.
And that sometimes leads people to the supernatural,
To the unexplained.
to try and make sense of the chaos.
The Mothman almost becomes a symbol
Of what?
of disaster.
Like a harbinger.
Right.
And it taps into our fascination with premonitions.
With seeing glimpses of the future.
Makes you wonder, are we really in control of our destinies?
Or are some things predetermined?
Okay, this next one really gets to me.
What is it?
Open water.
Open water, okay.
Every time I think about it, chills down my spine.
What is it about that movie?
It's loosely based on the disappearance of this American couple,
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Tom and Eileen Lonergan,
Yes. They went scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef.
and just vanished without a trace.
Imagine that. 1 minute you're exploring the beauty of the ocean.
Yeah.
And the next, you're completely alone.
Lost in this vast, unforgiving ocean.
It's like that primal fear of being swallowed up by the unknown.
And it's not even just about sharks or anything like that.
Right.
It's the sheer immensity of it all.
Yeah.
You're totally insignificant.
Vulnerable to the power of nature.
Exactly.
And to think their bodies were never found
I know.
just adds to the mystery, the unease.
What happened to them?
We may never know.
It shows how there are places in the world
Yeah.
where we're not in control.
Where nature's in charge.
And the ocean can keep its secrets forever.
It can.
I need a minute after that one.
Yeah, open water is intense.
It really gets to me.
But it's interesting though, right?
What's that?
How these real-life horrors, they often tap into those universal fears.
Like we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
The fear of predators, the unknown, losing control.
Those are primal fears deep down in our psyche.
And they can manifest in so many ways, from slashers to being lost at sea.
Exactly. It's all about tapping into that primal fear.
Makes you think.
It does.
Speaking of facing fears, I think we need to revisit The Exorcist for a second.
The Exorcist. Okay, what about it?
The whole idea of demonic possession. That's another theme that haunted humanity for centuries.
No, for sure, across so many cultures.
It's that loss of control,
Yeah, something taking over your body and mind.
losing your identity.
That's terrifying.
And the film didn't hold back.
No, it really showed possession in such a visceral way.
Psychologically disturbing.
Definitely.
And remember all the debate and controversy when it came out?
Oh, yeah, people were really questioning what they believed.
What was possible?
Whether it was real or just mental illness.
It tapped into this cultural anxiety, you know?
About the nature of evil, good versus evil.
That's been around for a long time.
A central theme in storytelling for millennia.
And it made people confront their beliefs about the spiritual world, things beyond our understanding.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, there's the Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah, that one was wild.
Was it a real haunting?
Or a hoax.
Exactly. The Lutz family's claims, so much skepticism.
Some believe their stories.
Demonic voices, cold spots.
Levitating objects, the whole 9 yards.
While others thought they were just trying to make money off a tragedy.
Yeah, tough to say.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Even if it was a hoax, the story still captured people's imaginations.
True.
The house became this symbol of evil.
A place where darkness had taken hold.
It shows the power of belief.
How what we perceive can shape reality.
And it also plays on that fear of the unknown.
Wow, absolutely.
Things that go bump in the night, the possibility that our
The
homes
places we think are safe.
might be hiding something sinister.
Very true.
Okay, so we talked about universal fears, but there's another element that really creeps me out.
What's that?
The idea of evil lurking behind a normal facade.
The monster hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. Like John Wayne Gacy,
Okay.
the inspiration for Pennywise.
In IT.
He was a clown, seemingly friendly,
Right.
but underneath it all, a serial killer preying on children.
A chilling reminder that you never really know what's beneath the surface.
And it's not just fictional characters.
Oh, I know where you're going to...
Ed Gein, remember?
The inspiration for Psycho.
Quiet life, small town.
But committing these horrible acts.
Grave robbing, necrophilia, creating trophies from human remains.
It's that banality of evil that's so unsettling.
Monstrous acts by seemingly ordinary people.
Makes you question who you can trust.
Makes you wonder who's capable of darkness.
Absolutely.
And then you have Zodiac.
Oh, yeah, the Zodiac killer.
Never caught, just blended into society.
And that unsolved mystery
Adds to the fear.
that anyone could be the killer.
Uncertainty lingers long after the movie's over.
You start questioning everyone you meet.
We've covered universal fears, hidden evil, unsolved mysteries. But what about those stories that tap into something deeper?
Something more taboo.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Ah, yes. Cannibalism.
Most people find it repulsive, horrifying.
It's the ultimate taboo.
But there's also this strange fascination.
It's such a primal act, violating our very nature,
It goes against everything civilized.
everything moral.
And yet, characters like Hannibal Lecter,
He's so compelling.
intelligent, sophisticated,
But with this dark side,
like a reflection of our own potential for evil,
he challenges our ideas of good and evil.
the boundaries of human behavior.
That's what makes the film so powerful, so disturbing.
It makes us confront the darkest parts of humanity.
The things we don't want to acknowledge.
We've covered a lot of ground here. Real-life horrors, fears, how they've shaped horror films.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
But it's not just about being scared, right?
Well, absolutely not.
There's something more to it.
Horror can be a way to confront our fears.
In a safe environment.
Exactly. Explore the dark side of human nature.
Experience those intense emotions, but without the actual danger.
Like a controlled experiment with your emotions.
Push your boundaries, test your limits.
And walk away unharmed.
Maybe that's why we're drawn to these stories.
That catharsis. Releasing anxieties.
In a controlled setting.
Like a roller coaster for the mind.
The thrill of fear without the risk.
And then you step back into reality.
Knowing the monsters are just on the screen.
Safely contained.
But the impact of those stories stays with you.
Oh, it does.
Makes you more aware of the world.
more vigilant, more cautious.
And maybe that's a good thing, right?
Fear can be a powerful motivator for self-preservation.
Finding that balance between awareness and paranoia.
Being prepared, but not letting fear take over.
So as we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive, what's the message for our listeners?
The world can be a scary place, but it's also a place filled with wonder and beauty.
And sometimes facing our fears head on is the best way.
Acknowledge them, talk about them.
Whether through movies, books, or conversations.
Sharing those fears can help us understand them.
And ultimately, feel less afraid.
We'll be back with part 3 in just a moment.
We're back. And I gotta say, diving into all these true horror stories, it really makes you think.
It sticks with you, doesn't it?
It does. Even after the movie's over, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
What is it about true stories that makes them so effective in horror, you know?
It's that blur between fiction and reality, like we were talking about.
Right.
When you know something actually happened.
It's different.
It adds this whole other intensity to watching it.
Like the monster under the bed suddenly feels more real.
Exactly. It's not just entertainment anymore.
Yes,
It's a
yeah.
glimpse into the dark possibilities of, like, human nature.
You see, it
A reminder that those horrific things can really happen.
makes you question your own safety.
Does.
Like, if it happened to them,
Yeah.
could it happen to me?
It's a chilling thought
It is. It's like tapping into that primal fear.
of becoming a victim.
Exactly.
And these true crime horror movies, they often heighten that fear.
They do. Make you feel vulnerable.
Ugh.
But here's the thing, though.
What's that?
Watching a horror movie, even one based on a true story,
Yeah.
it can be a way of confronting those fears
I see what you mean.
in a safe space, right?
It's like exposure therapy.
Exactly.
Watching it unfold on screen,
Uh-huh.
you can confront those fears, the anxieties.
But without being in actual danger,
Exactly.
like testing your limits,
Seeing how much you can handle.
taking a calculated risk with your emotions.
That's a good way to put it.
And maybe that's part of why we like them, you know?
The catharsis.
Releasing those anxieties.
And a controlled environment.
Exactly. A roller coaster for the mind and emotions.
And at the end of the ride,
Yeah.
you can step off, back to reality.
And the monsters are confined to the screen.
They can't hurt you.
But their impact stays with you.
For sure.
It makes you more aware of your surroundings.
Makes you think twice.
More cautious. More attuned to the dangers.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
A healthy amount of fear can keep you safe.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the final takeaway for our listeners?
The world can be a scary place, no doubt.
But
it's also full of wonder and beauty.
don't let the darkness take over.
Don't let fear paralyze you.
Sometimes facing those fears head on is the best way.
Talk talk about them, acknowledge them.
Through films, books, conversations.
Sharing those fears can make them less scary.
And maybe, by venturing into the darkness,
Yeah,
we can appreciate the light even more.
that's a good point.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring.
And sleep tight.
Sweet dreams.